In a port in the United States, a young woman called Jenny is being attacked by a man dressed as Santa Claus. With her hands tied to an iron bar, she screams for help as the villain points his Christmas tree-shaped weapon at her. What's more, in the middle of the lake, an enormous great white shark is lurking, just waiting to feed. But before tragedy strikes, Casey, Jenny's boyfriend, shows up to save her and aims his shotgun at Santa Claus. The villain, however, challenges him to a hand-to-hand fight and the young man accepts, putting his gun aside and going head-to-head. The two exchange punches and kicks, but Santa has more physical strength and strikes back with blows that leave Casey bewildered. Even so, he strikes back with a swift kick, knocking the old man into the water, where the shark is waiting for him. Without wasting any time, the marine predator devours Santa Claus and even wears the man's hat on his fin. Eventually, Casey saves his girlfriend and the two are reunited with a kiss, but it's all just a comic book script. Entitled Santa Jaws, it was created by young Cody, who is finishing the drawings to show to Clark, the owner of a comic book store. Cody is joined by his best friend, Steve, who reminds him about tomorrow's Christmas Eve party at the store. The boy, however, says he's not sure he'll be able to make it because he has to help his mother decorate the house, but his friend insists that it will be the best party of the year. Cody then says goodbye to him and Clark and rides his bike home. Shortly afterwards, the boy and his family receive a visit from Uncle Mike, a wealthy businessman who has come, along with his wife and model, Georgia, for Christmas dinner. However, when he meets him, Cody makes fun of his uncle's visit, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere in the house. To make matters worse, the boy's mother receives a message from the school principal, saying that she has found a caricature of him made by Cody and sends a photo of the drawing on her cell phone. The boy tries to justify himself, but his mother grounds him for a week and forbids him to go to the comic book store party. Furious, Cody locks himself in his room and, when evening comes, while his parents are out of the house, he takes the opportunity to draw on the balcony. There, he meets Uncle Mike who, to his surprise, says he likes the boy's drawings and even offers him a job in New York. Cody is happy with his uncle's gesture, but soon Mike has to leave to take a call at work. Before leaving, he accidentally leaves his lighter behind and Cody decides to keep it. On returning to his room, he finds an early Christmas present from his grandfather, Joe, and inside the package he finds a wooden box with inscriptions in German. Inside is an ornate silver pen, which the boy quickly decides to try out. He uses it to draw another picture of the Santa Jaws, just as his mother shouts from the other side of the door, telling him to go to sleep. Annoyed by his mother's demanding ways, the boy wishes that his family would leave him alone forever, at the same time as he finishes the drawing. Afterwards, Cody goes to sleep, but mysteriously, the drawing he made seems to come to life and, in the town's lake, a green light emanates from the water. Then a shark fin emerges from the lake, wearing a Christmas hat, just like in Cody's comic strip. Speaking of him, the next morning the boy is woken up by his grandfather, who calls him for his Christmas fishing trip. Cody warns him that he can't go out because he's grounded, but the old man promises to keep everything a secret and even promises to drop him off at the store party. The boy agrees to go, but just as he's about to get into his grandfather's car, he gets distracted by Jenna, a young neighbor from the neighborhood, and stumbles into the garden. After this embarrassing moment, he goes with his grandfather to the lake in the forest to start fishing. However, Joe notices that his grandson is not well and the boy reveals that he is in love with Jenna, but his shyness always makes him embarrassed in front of her. The old man advises him not to give up and to gather the confidence to ask Jenna out on a date. After the advice, he asks Cody to give him a bottle of the eggnog he's prepared, but when he's about to deliver it, the boy knocks it into the lake. Joe then tries to reach the bottle, but in the water, he hears the sound of Christmas bells. Unfortunately for the old man, a gigantic shark dressed in a Christmas hat emerges from the water and devours him in a matter of seconds. Cody is frightened, even more so when he realizes that this shark is identical to his drawing of the Santa Jaws. He then rushes to tell his family about his grandfather's tragic elimination, but as expected, no one believes him, especially his mother, Caroline. She then grounded him again, not only for leaving the house without permission, but for telling lies in the middle of Christmas Eve. After that, the family goes for a drive, leaving Cody at home until they return. Nevertheless, the boy decides to investigate the matter on his own and, equipped with his bicycle, binoculars and drawing materials, he returns to the comic book store. There, he meets Steve again and tells him that his Santa Jaws comic book has come to life, resulting in his grandfather's perishment. His friend doesn't believe this absurd story either, but Cody is determined to stop the creature anyway. He asks Clark to give him back the comic book, but the guy says he gave it to a client, none other than Jenna. With no other choice, Cody goes to Jenna's house and Steve accompanies him to get the story straight. Meanwhile, at Caroline's restaurant, she and her husband, Peter, are having a charity Christmas dinner to help those in need. However, Mike and Georgia won't be able to help, as they've rented a yacht to watch the annual boat parade. Little do they know that, in the city's lakes, a Christmas shark hungry for human flesh is in search of its new prey. Minutes later, the couple are getting ready to go on a boat trip, with Mike finishing putting up the Christmas decorations. However, just as they were about to set sail, the boat's engine malfunctions and he goes to check what happened. While Mike solves the problem, Georgia puts her float in the lake and poses for photos on her social network. In one of them, a shark's fin with a Christmas hat appears, but the woman is more concerned with her appearance and doesn't notice the creature approaching. At the same time, Mike has found the problem with the engine, which has Christmas lights stuck on the propeller. He starts to remove them, but soon comes across the Santa Jaws, which he devours in one go. His screams frighten Georgia, who ends up dropping her cell phone in the water. She is furious with her husband, but her anger soon turns to dread when the shark appears, swimming in the lake. Far away, Cody and Steve arrive at Jenna's house and, although nervous, the young man knocks on the door. Jenna goes to answer it and Cody asks for his comic book back, but the girl says she left it on her father's boat. Despite this, she promises to take them to the port to retrieve the comic. In the meantime, Georgia manages to escape from the Santa Jaws and runs to the restaurant, where she tells Peter, Caroline and Cody's older brother Josh everything that happened. Hearing everything, Josh realizes that his brother had told the truth and his father asks him to take Georgia home while the couple look for Uncle Mike. Nearby, Cody, Steve and Jenna find the boat and the girl brings back the comic book. With it, the boy believes he can finish off the Santa Jaws, but before he can do anything, the three of them hear the sound of Christmas bells in the water. Jenna remembers that, in the comic book, this sound was emitted whenever the shark approached and they decide to get out of there. However, in another part of the lake, a guy dressed as an elf sits down to rest and a boat comes towards him. With no time to escape, he is hit and ends up having his legs severed by the impact. Seconds later, the trio hears screams and in front of them appears the guy dressed as an elf, trying to escape with only half his legs. To his misfortune, the Santa Jaws appears and crashes into the wooden bridge, causing the guy to fall into the lake and be devoured by the monster. Now that Steve and Jenna believe Cody's story, the three of them rush to the comic book store to talk to Clark. When they get there, Josh shows up, along with Georgia, who has decided to stop by the store to find his brother. With the whole story revealed, Cody says that the shark must be stopped, because with the parade of boats, the monster will have more victims to devour. The group agrees to help him on this mission, but Steve reminds them that they don't have the weapons to stop the monster. Fortunately, Clark shows off his arsenal of medieval weapons, including swords and a huge crossbow, and gives them to the group. With this help, Cody puts together a plan of action, at the same time as his parents have just arrived on the boat and are looking for Mike. However, they only find his sailor hat and, when Peter tries to pick it up, the great white shark appears and tries to attack him. Luckily, Peter quickly dodges it and the couple soon realize that Cody's story was real. Back at the comic book store, while Cody is setting up the equipment, Steve finds the box with the magic pen. Jenna, who understands German, translates the inscriptions and the text says that anyone who uses the magic pen for evil purposes will suffer serious consequences. On hearing this, Cody deduces that using the pen while wishing his family would disappear has resulted in all this trouble. He feels guilty about it, but there's no time to lose and the group sets off in search of the shark in the city's bay. Once there, they try to think of a way to summon the monster and Steve remembers that, in the comics, the shark was attracted to Christmas music. Steve then puts a Christmas song on his cell phone and, seconds later, the Santa Jaws appears, advancing against the group at high speed. Cody, armed with a crossbow, fires an arrow in the monster's direction, but ends up missing. Jenna decides to help him and, with her experience in sports, she fires an arrow right at the shark, but it doesn't suffer any damage. Then it's Josh's turn to attack and he throws a spear at the monster, but it misses its target. Finally, the shark dives into the lake and disappears into the water, leaving everyone apprehensive. However, it's not long before the shark appears behind them and makes a surprise attack. With Christmas lights tied to its tail, the creature throws them towards Georgia, who is tied up by the monster and pulled into the lake. Cody and his friends try to pull her back, but the shark is stronger and manages to knock Georgia into the water. The monster then advances towards her who, having only brought a Christmas sweet, tries to use it as a makeshift weapon to defend herself. Mysteriously, when the candy comes into contact with the shark, it turns into a dagger and Georgia uses it to attack the monster. Thanks to this, she manages to hit the shark's eye and pull it out, but despite her efforts, she is pulled to the bottom of the sea by the creature. With yet another tragic victim, The group flees the scene and Jenna says that even though she hit the shark with the arrow, it didn't suffer any damage. However, the candy Georgia used has become a weapon, which means that the Santa jaws can only be harmed with Christmas items. Cody then tells the group to look for more Christmas decorations, as they are now the only hope of defeating the monster. In addition to them, Peter and Caroline also decide to arm themselves to face the creature and take a rifle from his house. There, they find a note left by Cody, saying that he went in search of the shark. The couple decide to go to the bay to look for their children, who are trying to make weapons out of everything they can find with a Christmas theme. Steve and Josh go to search the nearby warehouse, while Cody and Jenna assemble weapons with what they've brought in their backpacks. In the meantime, the boy works up the courage to talk to Jenna and discovers that the two of them have more in common than he thought. The girl, who comes from another city, trains intensely at her father's request, but she, like Cody, enjoys reading comic books. The conversation brings the two closer together, until Steve and Josh return with a box full of explosives. However, bombs alone are not enough to hit the shark's tough carcass. So Cody suggests putting gunpowder inside Christmas baubles, thus creating a weapon against the monster. The group then fills all of them with the explosive and Cody lures the creature, this time using Christmas cookies and throwing them into the sea. The bait works and the shark begins to approach, but Cody, Jenna, Steve and Josh are prepared, their weapons fortified with Christmas decorations. Cody is the first to attack and, following Jenna's tips, he fires an arrow made of sharp sweets, hitting the monster's fin. Then it's Jenna's turn, who throws her spear, wrapped in Christmas lights, and manages to hit the shark. Finally, Josh throws one of the bombs into the water and the explosion leaves the creature bewildered. Steve tries to finish it off with another bomb, but he stumbles and almost drops it, only for the shark to take advantage of his carelessness and swallow him whole in one move. Cody screams about his best friend's elimination, but the group is forced to flee. The boy, however, is still devastated by what happened and Jenna tries to comfort him, saying that if the magic pen created the monster, it can also somehow destroy it. He then searches for the pen in his backpack, but realizes that he accidentally left it in the comic book store. At that moment, Clark has just found the magic item and, as he picks it up, he begins to be affected by its power and decides to use it. Minutes later, Cody, Josh and Jenna arrive at the store, where they find Clark with his supposed new girlfriend, who has come from Russia to visit him. The group finds this very suspicious, but they soon ask for the pen back to solve the whole problem. Clark tries to disguise it and says he'll pick it up in the back room. However, Cody sees a pile of cash under the counter and soon suspects that he is using the pen for his own interests. Their suspicions are confirmed when Clark runs off in his new car, created by the power of the pen, and escapes from the store. The trio then set off in pursuit of the guy, but as his car won't work, they decide to follow him on bicycles. The chase intensifies until Clark arrives at the harbor and tries to escape by boat, but the trio manages to catch up with him and tells him to return the pen. He refuses because of the possibilities this magical object can bring to his life and threatens to throw it into the lake. Cody tries to convince him to return the pen, as it is too dangerous to use. But, seeing that Clark won't comply, Jenna jumps towards him and they both fall into the lake. Seconds later, the girl emerges with the pen in her hand and throws it in Cody's direction. However, the Santa Jaws also appears in the lake and swallows Clark with a single bite, heading for Jenna soon after. The two brothers try to help the girl, who is about to reach the harbor, but she also ends up being pulled by the monster. Cody tries to go after her, but Josh knows it's too late and pulls him away. Now that all his friends have been eliminated, all that remains is for Cody to use the pen to finish off the shark once and for all. So, with the comic book in his hand, he modifies the monster's design, causing it to be pierced by a spear. In doing so, a huge spear materializes in the air and is thrown towards the shark. However, instead of being eliminated, the monster now has a pointed horn on its head. Seeing that the solution may not be so simple, Cody decides to use Clark's car to return to the restaurant and find his parents. He and his brother drive there and are happy to see their family again. After the meeting, Cody reveals that he created the Santa Jaws and only he can destroy it. However, his parents try to convince him that this is absurd, which only makes the boy furious, because once again, his parents don't take what he has to say seriously. Realizing that he had wronged his son before by not taking him at his word, Peter decides to help him in this confrontation with the shark. Caroline and Josh agree and the four of them get together to put together a plan of attack. This time, Cody suggests using the Christmas turkeys his mother made for dinner and stuffing them with gunpowder. Then they have to set up an improvised catapult to launch the turkeys and, when the shark devours them, they blow it up with a shot from Peter's rifle. The plan is then put into practice and Cody uses the restaurant's sound system to summon the Santa Jaws with Christmas music. Once again, the monster is attracted by the melody and, with Josh pointing the rifle in his direction, Peter and Cody start throwing the Christmas turkeys. However, the shark dodges 2 of them, leaving only 1 loaded with gunpowder. Even so, Cody and Peter launch it, but the catapult is no longer strong enough for a long-distance throw and the turkey lands on the lower part of the bridge where they are. Despite the risks, Josh runs to get the roast turkey and, as soon as he reaches it, he throws it towards the monster. Thanks to this, the shark finally swallows it, but before they can shoot him, the monster uses its horn to pierce Josh and pulls him to the bottom of the sea. Seeing this tragedy, the family despairs and Peter jumps into the lake to face the shark alone. However, the man soon realizes it was a bad idea and tries to return, with Cody picking up the rifle and trying to aim at the shark. However, he ends up missing the target and his father becomes another victim of the terrible monster. Shortly afterwards, the roast turkey that Josh had thrown emerges in the water and, when the creature tries to swallow it, Cody, in a last-ditch effort, shoots the turkey, causing it to explode and hitting the shark in the head. The explosion pushes Cody and his mother away, but the 2 get back on their feet and believe they are free of the monster. Still, the price of defeating it was too high, but Cody suggests that, with the magic pen, they can bring their family and friends back. Caroline, who is already hopeless after losing her husband and son in such a cruel way, says it's impossible. Cody becomes enraged and Caroline tries to take the pen from her son's hand, but he resists and the 2 end up throwing the object away. When she realizes what she has done, Caroline regrets it and goes to pick up the pen, handing it back to Cody. To her misfortune, at that very moment, the Santa Jaws jumps out of the water and starts devouring the woman mercilessly. Cody tries to help his mother, but he knows that the only way to do this is to change the outcome of his comic book. So, on the last page, he writes that whoever manages to eliminate the Santa Jaws will have their Christmas wish come true. As a request, Cody wants all his family and friends to be brought back to life and, using Uncle Mike's lighter, he burns his comic book. As a result, the Santa Jaws bursts into flames and explodes, causing a wave of energy that pushes the boy and makes him faint. Seconds later, Cody wakes up, but this time he's in his room. When he looks at his cell phone, the date indicates that it's already Christmas and, when he goes downstairs to the living room, he finds his entire family, safe and sound. The boy is relieved that his plan worked and that everyone is okay. In fact, when his grandfather says he has prepared a special snack, Cody offers to go and get it, which surprises everyone, especially his mother, with his generous attitude. Afterwards, while his family is exchanging gifts, the boy decides to take advantage of the opportunity and goes to talk to Jenna. Because everything is back to normal, she doesn't remember the boy, but he takes courage and not only gives her a volume of his favorite comic book, but also invites her on a date. Jenna accepts and, before they say goodbye, she returns the Santa Jaws comic book she picked up at the comic store. On seeing the comic book, Cody goes into the forest and burns it on a bonfire to prevent any more trouble from happening. Even so, he still has his magic pen and decides to keep it, because this could be his chance to become a famous cartoonist. Or, who knows, to create a new monster to terrorize the city. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.